Hi friends, I go by the name of Host Eric. I'm the host of Talking with Famous People, and my first name is Eric. That's where I came up with Host Eric from, a combination of those two realities. This stream is about CJ's stream. If people want to say it, people sometimes say to me, Eric, do you have a TWFP Discord? I say, fuck no. But basically, as far as I'm concerned, CJ O'Connell's live stream is the TWFP Discord. I had a great time chatting in his live stream yesterday, and I watched some of it today. Of course, the reason I had such a great time is because they're generally talking about stuff that happens around here, you know. Hi, Rachel, darling. I was just watching a little bit of... I don't think I talked to you about that. But me going into CJ's stream last night as a chatter, and like they were talking to Bobby Brown, and it's like when I showed up, they were in the middle of talking shit about me. It was fantastic. It was like, oh my god, these people are talking about me. All right. That's what I want to see in life. I want to see people talking about me. Yes, Rachel, how are you? How are you? We've had a very low impact day. Got up really late and then basically watched like 35 impossible sports moments and those kind of videos for a while. And then Rachel went back to bed. Not much of anything happened today, but I started finding the day a little more interesting when I started watching CJ's stream. Now, the big stream that he had going on, which is like was running for like 12 hours or something, I can't find it on his channel. So he had some additional streaming occur after that. It reminds me somewhat of the time period when I used to have the Raw rooms, and there'd be video conferences with groups of people, and whereby, because he had Peter Dintici there, and then last night he had Bobby Brown on mic as well. You know, they were trying to sort of resolve the thing, so to speak. Like, let's get to the bottom of why you're so fighty, and or what we can do to make you less fighty, and or something like that. But I don't know if they accomplished that or not. My point was that you know we still haven't resolved the bullshit, right? It's like, no. You know, because it's like there's all this bullshit about me asking one time, Bobby Brown, who is that? That's the domestic violence guy, right? Well, it turned out I eventually remembered that I eventually realized that I was actually thinking about Chris Brown, not Bobby Brown. Chris Brown was the domestic violence guy. He like beat up Rihanna really badly or something. Anyway, but the point is, he kept ignoring all of everything I was saying. He kept saying like, you didn't even read the big comment I left. I never saw it. YouTube removed it, you know? I told him that. He kept repeating that same fucking argument, ignoring what I was saying, which really drives me crazy, you know? Well, it's like, you can't charge at a village in full armor on a horse with a sword and screaming death to the infidel, and then be all butthurt when somebody shoots an arrow at you. You know, it's like, it's just, you live by the sword, you die by it, right? And that's the frustrating part, I guess, is that he's the first person to cry unfair. He's the first person to cry like, I'm not being treated respectfully, but he's totally unfair to everybody and disrespectful to everybody. So, you know, it's like, okay, dude, enough. And then there's this other thing where he's like, you know, how does it feel that the table's turned, Eric? Now I can talk and you're in the chat. I'm like, it's not, there's no tables turned, you know? I don't feel disadvantaged by being in the chat. I'm not like you. I don't feel like complaining and whining because I'm in the chat and you're talking. I can communicate just fine in the chat. I don't want to be on mic. I'm listening to you guys talk shit. It's funny. Well, you know what, Jonathan Bassani? I feel a little guilty sometimes too. Because obviously, well, it's primarily because something Peter Dentici quoted last night. Which is, so it's like, okay, you know, Peter Dentici put a link, or not a link actually, I found the thing and linked to it, but it was to a Facebook video that's about choosing your battles, and specifically about people like Leaf Trimmer, who are constantly getting into fights all the time about every little thing, and constantly feeling slighted and etc. Basically, it said this is a phenomenon that occurs when you're continually going around in low-level emotional pain. So that also made me go, okay, well, I need to remember that just because the part I'm seeing is, you know, adversarial, directed at me or at other people, the reality underneath it is probably some degree of suffering, you know. EK Clips, hello. Are you uncomfortable, darling? What are you uncomfortable? How are you uncomfortable? What happened? So I like the community aspect of things where there's an additional place besides in these live streams where conversations are going on. But I haven't found any means to engage such a platform that's not fundamentally too toxic for me to manage, basically. The thing is, CJ O'Connell's stream is a perfect sort of middle ground alternative to that. I can check in and see what people are saying about community in general, and yet it's managed by a single person, and it's his channel and his stream and stuff. So it's not a chaotic morass of stupidity like Discord turns into. I did know that your knees were feeling a little numb, but I didn't realize that was making you uncomfortable. I'm sorry to hear that, darling. What am I doing? I'm live streaming right now. It's something where a person sits in front of a camera like this one here. I've got a microphone right here, and I'm sitting on a couch, and I'm expressing myself with expressiveness, with creativity, with verve, with meow. Oh, this isn't a bottle. This is a water pipe. It, it's a delivery system for smoke to the lungs. As far as Rachel's progress in general goes, it would seem, and Rachel certainly obviously encouraged to correct me if I get this wrong, but it would seem as though she's generally improving gradually. That her hands and feet are doing a little bit better, but that she's still experiencing some numbness and tingling in various parts of her body. But you know, I think we're both still hopeful that she'll recover entirely at some point. Leaf was genuinely asking why we were interested in typology and philosophy. I mean, the answer is we're typologically inclined to value certain things. I haven't checked my email in a few days if the email thing has anything to do with me. So, you know, Jonathan, I had heard they were talking about the fact that you had been there before and that there had been some conversation with you. And there was an ongoing attempt in the stream after you had left, because I showed up after you had left, I guess, to sort of translate what you were attempting to say. But, you know, what it boils down to is no matter how reasonably or rationally Peter and TG or CJ wanted to approach the topic, Leaf Trimmer, understandably, like anybody, didn't want to hear there's something wrong with you that you need to work on. But basically, that was the gist of the conversation, right? It was like there's a very real and reasonably pointed to contentiousness that goes along with Leaf Trimmer. I've had people tell me, or at least one person tell me before, in fact follow through on it, say if you don't ban him, I'm leaving. Because they find he makes their experience so unpleasant or whatever. But my position on that was always like, well, you're welcome to block him. There's no reason why I need to ban him when you can block him. So that was my position on that. Regardless, it is true that it's important to sustain an environment where people feel comfortable, you know? And if somebody is kind of relentlessly looking for fights, then people aren't necessarily going to want to be hanging out here, you know? Well, she eventually came back. I don't like being pressured into doing things anyway, so that was a bad approach to take with me. I mean, it's like, should people be chastised for hurting feelings? It's it's really contextually dependent. You know, it's like there's stuff that's below the belt, and there's stuff that's reasonable, and there are instances when people have hurt feelings where it's really their problem. They're having trouble dealing with certain realities or whatever, and being emotionally responsive to those in ways that maybe are sort of negatively reactive. And there are other instances where people are saying somebody's saying something hurtful, and that's the problem, regardless of whether the person has hurt feelings, you know? So it's not okay to purposely be hurtful, in general. Sometimes I am guilty of this, as I think it was Boba Fett said in the chat of CJ's stream. Eric can be a prick sometimes. He may have even said a lot of times. Eric can be a prick a lot of times. I can be a prick, but I'd like to think I'm not intentionally hurtful. Or that if I, on occasion, am, that I regret it and feel guilty about it. You know, the thing is, of course, there's somewhat of a need to acknowledge that it's like in basketball or something. If Team A is playing really dirty and rough, and finally someone from Team B has a flagrant foul, well, that might still be a flagrant foul, but at the end of the game, you'd still say Team A played dirty and Team B played clean, you know? So, and also that you can more understand why Team B snapped and committed that flagrant foul than you would in other contexts, because Team A was playing dirty the whole time, you know? And that's what I think of as basically what happens with him, is that he's playing dirty, you know? It's like he didn't like me asking the question about Bobby Brown, is that the domestic violence guy? And he conflated that into Eric's fixated about domestic violence. I was just trying to place the guy in my head as to who he was. And in reality, the person I was actually thinking of was Chris Brown. But the point is, there's a presumption of critique there that wasn't actually there, right? And that even when I dispelled that misconception explicitly in words, he ignored those words and repeated his misconception. So that's what I mean by playing dirty, you know? And then he says, well, there was no mention of Chris Brown in the video you made, Eric. Well, yeah, I didn't realize I was thinking about Chris Brown until after I made that video. You know, the point is, if you're looking desperately for some reason to condemn me, then you can find little things like that don't mean anything and create bullshit out of it. But it's true I didn't mention Chris Brown in that video, but it's because I hadn't yet realized that that's who I was thinking of, which is the obvious conclusion to draw, you know, rather than some sort of nefarious, ill-intentioned, I don't know. Well, as far as, you know, Karma's Pimp's comment on that video made no sense to me at all. It made zero sense. It was clearly some sort of lashing out that I don't even know where it came from, right? Because it was like, nothing I said in that video supported any of his outrage. Made no sense. But I mean, it makes no sense in general. It's not accurate, you know. I don't use type as a weapon, but I do think it's non-arbitrary. Well, it is moot on a lot of grounds, Jonathan Basanti, but it helps to clarify why I asked the question in the first place, And as I said in an analogy in CJ's stream, let's say I didn't know who Martha Stewart was or wasn't sure. I might ask, is that insider trading lady? It's just me trying to make sure I got the right person in mind, right? It's not me judging insider trading, judging the person or anything else. It's just me trying to track them to a public event that I recall in the news about them. So, in that regard, it's like, and I made that clear, that warrant clear in the video, and it was just ignored. It was just ignored. Oh, is he live streaming right now too? Jaxio? So I really don't like being ignored, you know? Yeah, I know you get it, Jonathan. But the point is, I wasn't convinced that, I was quite convinced that he either didn't get it or was refusing to acknowledge that he did, so he needed further explication on the matter, you know? Does it go much better, Boba Fett, because you finally scored some weed? That would explain it. It really helps a lot to have weed as opposed to not having weed. Hi, Fly Guy. I'm not actually CJ. I'm just talking about CJ's stream. CJ streamed for a long time yesterday, and it was interesting. It was mostly about Peter Dentici and CJ talking to and about and with Bobby Brown / Sleep Drummer. Naturally, my favorite subject came up during the course of that conversation. And in case you couldn't infer, my favorite topic is me. There's a little bit of Eric Bad, Eric Good, Eric Dick, Eric. There's a mix of different things. But for the time I was actually there, present during the stream, I wonder if maybe Bobby Brown told him to take it down. That's what I'm thinking. 'Cause I know I couldn't access it. I could only access the after party thing that they were talking about it, post-morteming it. I guess CJ is. Do we know what type CJ is? I'm guessing he must be ENFJ, maybe INFJ. Bobby Brown's first language is definitely English. Okay? There's zero chance that it's not his first language. CJ says he's an INFP. He doesn't seem like an INFP. Let's start a big controversy about it. He seems more INFJ than INFP to me. Are you sure, Oliver? I think he's from Canada. He seems a little too cautious with people's feelings to be an ESTP. I think he's an INFJ. That was my read on him. He's very smooth. I can watch him. I feel like I'm in safe hands in terms of cringiness, like that he's not going to lead me to any cringiness. He didn't seem particularly ideationally rich. He seemed more engagingly rich, you know? So, he didn't seem like Dulles. He seemed much more like... I mean, he actually seemed kind of ISFJ-ish to me. More than INFJ, to be honest. Oh, Jonathan Bassani are on the same page. I didn't say he was wealthy. Well, that's what I've hypothesized he is as well, Winston's mom. But he doesn't want to hear that, you know. But yeah, there's something about CJ that seems more alpha quadra than beta. Now, you wouldn't normally expect an ISFJ to be able to carry on for that long of a time, but I actually think that when you're young, that's very plausible. Especially since he got up and got himself food and stuff, and, you know. You think he's an extrovert? I mean, there's not terrible reason to conclude that. I mean, it's like it's not a totally unreasonable conclusion. You wouldn't normally expect an introvert to stream for as long as he's streamed for. You know. I mean, I get you, Fly Guy. That's a good reason to conclude that, but we don't really know if that's typical of him or if that was a fluky occasion, right? He's not afraid of anything. I don't see him as an ENFP. Maybe he is an ESTP. I don't know. YouTube won't let the stream go up. The stream is corrupt and the file didn't run right or copyright stuff. Oh. Oh, there you go. That explains it. Regardless, that's fine. I wasn't here to comment on the fact that it's not accessible at the moment. I was here to actually comment on the event itself. The fact that it was inaccessible to me to watch, I didn't really care about. I watched the one that, like the 2 hour one, or a good portion of it. Yeah, I mean, I get you, but so is my daughter. My daughter's an ESTP, and she's a lot more like CJ than she is like Taylor in affect. And there's no disputing that she's an ESTP. I mean, I gotta say, it was really gratifying, that little clipping out that moment of Delilah finding her sky shard that she was looking for. That's the first and only time I've ever live streamed her playing a game or anything, right? And it wasn't for very long. And the magic of the whole thing, right? She's like, okay, well, I've only got 10 minutes left. What do you want me to do here in World of Warcraft? And I'm like, find a sky shard. She's like, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. And I'm like, well, I'll do a magic to make it happen. And then she's like, I found it. It was great. And the look on her face, her happiness and stuff, it makes me smile watching that video a lot. I guess that's FE juiciness. Or maybe it's even FI, I don't know. But, yeah, that made me really happy. That was a lucky moment. Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to get her involved in live streams more where she's just here chatting with me as well. About various things. But it's like if I were to call her right now and say, "Why don't you join me in a Google Meet room and we'll talk about life or whatever?" She'd probably say, "Well, I'm in the middle of playing World of Warcraft," you know. And I'll be like, "That's annoying," but because she's an ESTP, she likes to be in charge of what she's doing. Let's call her up and see if she'll join me on this for a bit. I bet she won't, but let's call her and see. One never knows. At least that's what they say. And they typically are very wise about such things. Who called me from South Carolina this morning? I wonder.
Hey, Dad.
Hi, Delilah. What are you up to right now?
Oh, nothing. Elliot just left my house. We had like a celebration for Jerry and Andrew's birthday. Auntie Gloria's kids.
Sure, yeah. So anyway, I'm live streaming, and I wonder if you want to join me on Google Meet and just chat about life for a few minutes while I'm still streaming.
No, I'm actually not in my room right now. I'm like out in the house, like hanging out with. I just came to my room real fast to change my pants, but I'm like hanging out with Diana and Penny because we're babysitting Penny right now while her parents are out.
Okay, well then I understand. So,
Sorry.
no problem. That's fine. Have a pleasant evening. And how is it difficult babysitting Penny?
She was being difficult earlier because Jerry had a dog here, and she's like kind of like afraid of dogs, but she's like tired as fuck right now, and so it's like pretty easy. Like she's like chill as fuck. Like she's like just tired and watch cartoons and stuff. But normally she's difficult.
Okay. All right. Well, if she goes to bed soon or something and you change your mind, I'll be streaming for a little while longer. I've only been streaming for half an hour, and so I don't know. If you change your mind, give me a call, and I'll send you a Google Meet link.
Okay, cool. I'll text you.
All right. Love you.
All right, love you too. See
Bye.
you later.
That's not at all unexpected. It's like, in general, I don't really want to talk to other people on a live stream that much. Like, I don't want to have a conversation with somebody, be the live stream. Although sometimes maybe more than others. Yeah, he might be an ENFJ too. But I always make an exception for her. It's like I like to talk to her because I like to listen to her. Whereas, in general, in most other conversations, I prefer to be the one talking. And people, when they want to come on and talk to me, a lot of times they want to present some ideas or something that I don't necessarily agree with. And it's not like my relationship with ideas is primarily to interview people about ideas, right? I I tend to have a fairly complete set of ideas that I think is predominant as far as frameworks go or whatever. And so it tends to make me want to push back on things I disagree with. Hilarious, my guy. Hilarious. It's good stuff. You get 5 points. The thing is, I would love to talk with somebody who well, I mean, it depends on my mood, right? Like right now I wouldn't mind talking with somebody, but the thing is, when I do talk with somebody, unless it's Delilah, I there's a challenge in understanding, like, there's always a challenge in managing the respective roles of, like, okay, what kind of conversation are we having? Are we having a conversation because you have something you want to talk about, in which case I can ask you questions about it? Are we having a conversation because you want to ask me questions, or do you just feel like chatting randomly, like I'm currently chatting randomly with people in the chat? Well, if it's the last thing, it doesn't really work very well. So, because I just typically will, true communism is when we're all equally dead. There ain't no equal like dead people equal. Would I like to talk with Jordan Peterson? Well, I mean, it's like what I just said. I'd want to know what kind of conversation we're having. I'm sure he would too. So, am I interviewing him? Am I interviewing him journalistically, or am I interviewing him adversarially? Is he interviewing me? Are we debating something? Are we just shooting the breeze, talking about each other's families? I mean, why is this conversation occurring? Mr. John Joe says, same, though lots of people assume any DOMs love just any ideas and alien type stuff. I feel somewhere where I don't want to hear it. Whatever it is under the sun that you can think of, I already have. Yeah, there's certainly that element, right? I mean, I guess my capacity would be to interview him about psychedelics. As long as I know what my role is and it's clear, then I think I'd be fine doing that. The thing is, if well, there's a bunch of complicated FE things, right? In evaluating all these kind of questions, like That would be interesting. Fly guy, you've got a point there. That would be interesting. To start with, okay. So you and I obviously have very different clothing aesthetics. Why do you think that is? Like, what explanation do you have for our respective differing approaches? We're both presumably smart guys who talk about fancy stuff. I mean, that would like shock the hell out of me. Obviously, if you were to somehow make that happen right now, I would feel I'd feel strangely not ready for it. You know, like I normally I like it when things just sort of happen right now rather than planning ahead. But but I definitely do it. I definitely have the conversation. I'd have to. Well, I mean, I think I'd go into it with. I think I'd go into it with an attempt to let him be the expert and me be the interviewer, with that conscious frame of reference. And then, to the extent that I was adversarial at all, it would just be because questions I would raise would he'd not provide good answers to. Maybe. I mean, the thing is, I don't know anything about him really. I'm not. I haven't watched a lot of his videos, and I haven't read a bunch of articles about him or anything. So, I mean, most of what I know about him is hearsay, right? I hear other people talk about him, and I mean, if that conversation were to be made to happen, that's what I'm talking about. Like the frame, I guess my best course of action would be to take a sort of politely disinterested, ask him questions kind of frame of reference. Let him have the floor almost the whole time, and try not to be adversarial. That would probably, and you know, ask interesting questions that elicit interesting answers, and then take advantage of that for that video to be popular or something. I don't want to see Jordan Peterson's song. Um, I guess I just have to play it by ear, you know, like everything else in life. But regardless, I'm going to assume that's not going to happen because I'm not famous enough. Well, to a certain extent, Oliver Linehan, I agree with you that he sold his soul to a team agenda. I wouldn't call him a grifter, but he's just. I think basically he displays his disregard for particularism all the time, and that a more complete epistemology is one that incorporates both particularist and universalist elements. Trying to make this happen at a time when I'm like not particularly up, you know. I This is sleepy week, the beginning of it too, but I'm not gonna pay anything for his time. If he's willing to come talk with me and let me interview him, then I'd be happy to do so. It would certainly benefit my channel, but you know, no matter how much I like sex, I'm not going to pay for it. It's not like I'm asking him to provide psychiatrist services for me. Well, huh. You got me. You got me like. You've launched too many any ships. It appears. My brain is shutting down, thinking of assorted possibilities. No. No, because I don't think of sex like that. I don't think of sex like as though it were consumable in that fashion. You pay your wife for sex. Yeah. Well, I guess you could say there's something implicit in that relationship, in the long-term relationship that's kind of like that, but it's not the same thing at all. 12 lobsters and a slain dragon. Plus one of the jade hinges from the gate of the Garden of Eden. That's what he requires to make him manifest. Yeah, this is from the real Garden of Eden. I got it for talking to host Eric. Yeah, I wouldn't. I just don't. I just don't think about sex like that at all. Like, I see it as like couple time. You know, I don't see it as anything but couple time or porn. One of the two. Oh, you've got to provide all the 5 elements for Jordan Peterson to show up: metal, fire, earth, spirit, and wind, and water. Mix it all together into a frothy mystical stew. Toss in 1 jade hinge from the Garden of Eden, plus some splinters from Noah's Ark, and voila, he'll show up to lecture about the importance of the Bible and the development of human mythologies. Yeah, that's because evolutionarily we are designed to avoid odd numbers. I mean even numbers. Excuse me, I misspoke. You listen to Jordan Peterson's lecture on the serpent as mythology and religion today, an hour and a half. The serpent represents knowledge, the garden, the safety of the garden walls. No, you just have to bang a Virgin Airways stewardess. Actually, that's the sacrifice. You don't even have to bang her on the plane. Wow, it took an hour and a half for him to say that, huh? I could tell you all about the Garden of Eden. The devil represents the knowledge of good and evil when he presents the apple does, I guess. And the devil represents human curiosity. And it's curiosity may have killed the cat, but it also ate the apple, or at least fed it to Adam. And the other thing they'll take away from the Garden of Eden story is when men do stupid shit, it's the chick's fault. That's one of the big takeaways. I could lecture on this for hours too. Another big takeaway. In the Garden of Eden, predator animals hung out and were friends with prey animals, which just shows how naive those prey animals were. Because, well, once the predator got hungry, they just eat them. So, it was no Garden of Eden for the prey animals. It was a garden of sudden, shocking, horrible, violent death. The claws and fangs of a beloved friend. A death drenched in betrayal. I should also point out that in the Garden of Eden, Eve represents woman, whereas Adam represents penis. Additionally, in the Garden of Eden, it was near the land of Nod. You need to remember that. And that's where everybody went. Everybody. Once they left the Garden of Eden. All the people that were there left the Garden of Eden and went to the land of Nod. And the irony is, in the land of Nod, everybody had mastered the head shake for no, but there was no equivalent for yes. They hadn't actually invented the nod yet. So the metaphor there is don't masturbate. The metaphor there is clean your room. That's the metaphor. When God sends locusts down people's throats, the metaphor is your room is filthy. You should be ashamed of yourself. The tree in the Garden of Eden that had the apples represents an apple tree from which apples grow. Except unlike a regular apple tree, the apples on this particular apple tree contain within them not seeds, but rather the knowledge of good and evil. One thing we learn from the Bible is don't kill your brother. Don't kill your brother even if you're mad at him. If you do, you'll be used to justify slavery thousands of years later. Yeah, basically Adam and Eve said, okay, the glorious, luminant resonance of God and divinity upon our skin is lovely. We're loving it. But let's see if they got any water slides or anything. Because, you can't hang out at church all day, right? And then they're still having fun, They don't find any water slides, but they made their own slip and slide in this one stream area, basically. They played naked slip and slide. But they hadn't yet invented intercourse, so it wasn't nearly as sexy as it sounds. Anyhow, then one day somebody comes up to them and says, hey, by the way, there's a rule now. And they go, oh, yeah, well, what's the rule? And they say, don't eat that apple. And naturally, they're both like, okay, we weren't planning on eating the apple, but now I'm kind of curious about it. So Like that particular one? Actually, just don't eat any apples from this tree. Okay. Well, okay. How about apples from that tree? Oh, yeah, you can eat those apples. What about this tree over here? Yeah, that tree too. Any of the trees, just not this one. Well, why not? Well, don't question me. Okay, but I can't help but wonder. I'm sorry, God. The wondering part of me, it just kind of reflexively kicks in. I can't help but wonder why it is that we can't eat the apples off of this tree. It looks the same as the other trees. Is there something? Is it poisonous or? Look, will you stop questioning me? Just stop it, okay? The rule is don't eat these fucking apples. Okay, all right, I won't eat the apples. Later on, Eve shows up, all like sweaty and worn out from having sex with the devil. And she's got a paper plate with an apple on it. I was like, oh, cool, apple. That's not from that one tree that God was talking about, is it? No, 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 no. There's that tree right over there. All right, cool. Sinners! And then the skies open up. Lightning comes down. Well, the plants start to burn up. And God's like, you ate the forbidden apple. And Adam turns his head to Eve and says, you bitch! I cannot believe you did that. She's like, I'm sorry. I just wanted to see what would happen. And Adam's like, okay, can you just kick her out, please? This is bullshit, man. She fooled me in eating this thing. And God, you should have doubted her. Out you go. And then this giant godly hand comes down from between the clouds and pushes them out of the gates. And that's when the jade hinge falls off of the gate. The Kabbalah is just like the regular Bible, but more mystical, okay? It was hidden in clay pots that were hidden in copper scrolls that were buried in caves where there used to be a sea. That's the rule for mystical truth. First, you gotta carve it into some kind of stone that's not available in the area where you live. That way people think aliens possibly brought it over. And you need to maybe like not only engrave it, but fill it with metal with a technique not normally used during your time period. Then you need to bake that thing inside of a clay pot, which you can put then inside of a brass box, which is encased in an ivory, a carved ivory holding container. Canister, you might call it. Then bury that in a cave next to some dinosaur bones or something. That's how you know. That's where real truth comes from. If you want real truth, you gotta dig it up out of the ground. It was written down a long time ago. Okay? The longer time ago it was written down, the more true it is. Everybody knows that. Like I've recently uncovered some caveman era writings that I've successfully translated, and what they say is that the sun is a campfire that got out of control in the sky. So since that's the oldest hypothesis we have on the matter, it's the most true, and we should believe it. It wasn't actually God who invented bread, okay? You know what it was? It was our Western Judeo-Christian values that invented bread. That's what did it. It was Christ who invented bread. Why do you think the Jews eat unleavened bread? Because they didn't learn the process of rising things until Christ rose from the dead. That's when yeast was discovered. As his body rose up from the ground, yeast fell from him, like a kind of a bread making dandruff. It's a mechanism to explain how mortal life connects to scuba diving. And the answer is via a tank of air and a regulator. Oh, divine. Oh, that makes a little more sense than scuba diving. Doesn't it? Yeah. Little known fact. The Virgin Mary, biblical scholars now believe the Virgin Mary visited Korea where she invented kimchi, and that her first batch of holy kimchi is still brewing somewhere underneath the ground in Korea. That makes it the Holy Land, and it's time for crusades. I work at a bakery, Three Brothers, and I'm missing that challah bread so bad right now. Challah bread, huh? What makes it challah bread? I'm not sure what challah bread is. All I know is that before Christ, Jewish people had to eat bread without any yeast in it. But God so loved the earth that he gave his only son so that we could have risen bread. God also not responsible for the spork. That was the Holy Ghost's idea. And, God had rejected like 15 or 16 of the Holy Ghost ideas in a row. And he just felt like he needed to throw him a bone. And so he was like, fine, go with your spork idea. And then the Holy Ghost came down and possessed the body of the inventor of the spork. And that's how the spork came to be. Yeah. The thing about chopsticks, of course, is it's like, didn't those Asian people ever consider stabbing their food with something? Instead of just picking it up? It's like, there's something fundamentally different about the West and the East. The East, they're so polite, even to their food, they're just going to pick it up with a couple of sticks. In the West, we stab that shit with a fork, It's a much more forward approach to life. Vulcans may exist, but the Vulcan death grip doesn't actually make people go pass out. I tried it. It doesn't work. No matter where you squeeze them here, they don't fall down. And that's true. It's actually kind of neither, though, isn't it, Jonathan Basanti? The horrible, horrible truth about the spork is that it doesn't so much succeed at being both fork and spoon as it fails at being either. And for that reason and many others, we can condemn the Holy Ghost. Say, oh, Holy Ghost, another one of your follies. Another one of his follies. Because you know what else the Holy Ghost is responsible for? Leaded gasoline. And a lot, it was up to people to fix the problem because God said, whatever, put some lead in the gas. Fine. He seems so passionate about this. He's like, you'll see it'll improve performance. But, it wasn't really healthy for people. It was kind of equivalent to filling the air with poison. However, we can credit the Holy Ghost for Daisy Dukes, Winston's mom, to segue from your comment there. The Holy Ghost was the costume person for Dukes of Hazzard, which is on his resume. He's on IDMB. If you look it up, you'll see. He was also the associate executive producer for Sleepless in Seattle. He's got a number of credits to his name, actually, the Holy Ghost does. Let's see. He was Dustin Hoffman's stunt double in Rain Man. What else? He was a gaffer on the movie Ghostbusters. Just filling in. They had a need. He's a team player, you know. He produced, directed, and starred in the Stanley Kubrick classic, The Shining. So, the Holy Ghost invented grape juice? The devil invented waxing, but the Holy Ghost invented waxing poetic. I tell you what the devil invented. The devil invented videos that promise you 15 most amazing moments caught on camera and that have titties in the thumbnail. And then you watch it and it's like you realize they just stuck this one little clip of this one chick in just so they could justify having it as the thumbnail, you know? And you really feel like, why am I watching this? Why am I doing this? Why am I watching these things? Why am I getting sucked in by boobs? Aren't I a little above that? Aren't I a little more advanced or intelligent than to be so easily sucked in by a picture of boobs on the thumbnail? What is wrong with you, Eric? Because it's not like the... You know, the thing is... It's like... Here's the deal. If you want to watch boobs, then you might as well just open the incognito browser window and rub one out, right? And there's no satisfaction in this sort of weird middle groundy, oh, look at that chick's boobs almost fall out of her shirt kind of what do you call it, blooper reel thing or whatever. I do like some of the like amazing near misses caught on camera. I like some of those quite a bit, where you go like, oh shit, that person almost got hit by that falling icicle but barely escaped. Or like the car comes barely, like if you've ever seen that video where this car comes crashing through this restaurant where these two people are sitting at a table and eating, and like pushes the whole thing back, and you think, oh my god, these people are dead, but they're both fine. They walk away from it. It's crazy. Those kind of videos are kind of interesting to me. Videos that make me say wow. But then occasionally I'll watch like incredible videos of animals saving other animals, but I get like just a minute or two into those and I start crying, and I just say, okay, no, I can't do this. I can't watch this. This is too much moisture. I like the spooky ones, but you know, most of the spooky ones, they have to be good spooky ones. But it's like I should know better than that. You know, it's silly. It's silly. I know what I'm gonna get when I watch those videos, and yet why do I click the ones that have boobs on the thumbnail more often than the ones that don't? It's some sort of irrational thing that supplants my sense. Hey, self, I don't remember giving you permission to be controlled by your animal urges, is what I'll tell myself. Only to discover that once again, I'm not listening to myself. And as we all know, what is the number one problem in all the world? People not listening to Eric. That's correct. So when I'm not listening to me, it's a problem. Hi, Ellie Sheba. You're kind of named like Ali Sheba. Isn't Ali Sheba a racehorse? Well, sometimes they'll have the butt thumbs where it's like amazing moments caught in sports. And they show like some young pole vault lady bent over in spandex. And it makes you go, oh, I wonder. I wonder what this video is about. Then you click it. And you realize once again, you've been. And then before you know it, and the other problem is, before you know it, if you start clicking those videos, then YouTube starts showing you more and more videos with boobs in the thumbs. Gib, I don't know what you're on about, but you keep tagging me for whatever reason. At Boba Fett. He's not tagging you. So, I mean, YouTube's pretty responsive, you know. It adjusts its suggested videos to what you're watching right now. It doesn't lag too far behind your shifting tastes, you know. I did see this incredible video of a rock slide, and I don't know where it was, some foreign country, but this big rock came down and destroyed this iron bridge that was crossing this ravine with a river in it. Where there's give, there's take. It's a good point. It's a very good point. Well, he uses the word gib to mean give. But I gotta say, like, watching little clips videos like that really makes me feel like I feel when I play video games. Like, okay, why am I doing this? This is such a waste of my time. What am I doing? I've exhausted the good ones. I'm digging the bottom of the barrel. If I'm going to watch something, why don't I watch a show or something? It's the ultimate kind of 7 move for me, is to just be avoidant, not check my email, and just watch like 35 most incredible sports highlights, shit like that. So it makes me feel kind of icky when I'm just like, even though I'm not on any amphetamines or anything, it's like I'm just gacking out on nothing. But I guess that's just who I am sometimes, is avoidance slash stemming. Like, I just want to stem and not deal with shit. You know what I'm saying? Well, tag. Uh-oh, I'm it. Now I'm it. All the children are running away from me and I have to chase after them. And I'm so lazy, whatever shall I do? It's in virtue of type 7 is gluttony and sobriety. Yeah, well. Um, yeah, it's very 7 of me to, when I get in this kind of like, this isn't happening, this isn't happening, this isn't happening mood or mode, which is just like also, I think I figured out the tri-type situation. It's 783. You think your tri-type is 783? That would be the mover shaker. I'm 784 myself. Um, what was my method for typing myself Enneagram-wise? Uh, I spent some time thinking about it. I originally had myself tri-typed as 783 because at the time I was more high achieving in actuality, but at some point I realized, yeah, but it's not really a meaningful. In other words, I don't. The 3 is more about making sure others are aware that you're high achieving, and less about just happening to be in a high achieving period of time in your life. So I eventually concluded when I read more about it and stuff, I concluded I was 784. But as far as, like, I probably initially took a straight up Enneagram test that typed me as 7, you know? And then I went from there. And I agreed with it when I read about it. I said, "Oh yeah, I'm that. That's me." Right. Well, if you want to know what the third one in your tri-type is, you think about it as, I mean, this approach works really well for my tri-type, not necessarily others, but the way I like to say it is, I'm playing. If I can't play, I get mad. If getting mad doesn't work, then I raise my middle fingers, take my ball, and go home. You know, that's 784. Whereas if yelling didn't work and I decided to, if I can't beat them, join them, that would be 2. Or if I can't beat them, then I'll beat them. That'd be 3. And if I can't beat them, then fuck off. That's 4. I don't care about you anyway. I don't care about this anymore. I don't like it. I'm having fun. 3's lack of self-identity and make up for it through trying to achieve everything. Yeah, I know a 3. I see that in him for sure. Yeah, I second what Winston's mom is saying. I second that notion. And I third that motion. What's a tri-type? It's basically the idea that, you know how you've got three heart, gut, mind centers, three centers in an enneagram. It's saying that you express your enneagram relationship in each of those three, not just in one of them. It's just that one is predominant, one is less predominant, and one is least predominant. So, for example, to avoid fear, I bury my head in the sand and basically stem, I stem out on something to avoid dealing with shit. And then in response to anger, I anger back. Or I'm more likely to be the source of anger than pushed around by somebody else who's angry, right? And then regarding shame, I sort of position myself as a rebel, iconoclast, or whatever. In other words, I say I don't accept your rules. I won't prove myself useful under your standards. I won't achieve under your standards. I just will reject them as not as good as my opinion or whatever. Wisdom, honor, and gain. Huh. That's a good way to think of it. Wisdom, honor, and gain. So I think it's more that my honor comes from my independence from social mores in determining what I say, do, think, believe, or whatever. That's the 4 in me. Nancy Drew in the Search for the G-Spot, an unreleased cult classic. I wonder if she ever found it. We can only hope. We can only hope and pray. I want everyone to know tonight, my prayers are with you. You're in my prayers, okay? You're in my hopes, you're in my dreams, you're in my prayers. You are in my well-wishings. You are in my general set of positive preferences for positive outcomes. You Carla, you ADASDFASD, you Lady Lou, you Winston's mom, you Ellie Shiva, you Boba Fett, all of you are in my prayers. And you, Jeremiah, and you. I didn't see you on the screen, the only reason I didn't include you. Dear God, here's my prayer. Do something nice for all the following people. Winston's mom, Jeremiah Fix, Carla Incensed, ASDFASD, Lady Lou, Ali Shiva, Boba Fett. I think that's everybody. I want you to do something nice for all of those people, please. I normally don't pray asking for things, but this is asking for things for people other than me, so it's less likely to anger you or incur your divine wrath. Okay, Jeremiah Fix, like the Cowardly Lion, it turns out those G-spots were inside of you the whole time. Just like the Cowardly Lion has been inside of you this whole time. future. We can only hope and pray that people who are in our hopes and prayers will receive the positive outcomes of our prayerful hope. That's all we can do, you know? That's all we can do. I mean, sure, we could wish as well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I wish you all well. I don't wish ill upon you. You're welcome. You are welcome. People think well-wishing comes cheap. No. Oh, no. I only have a certain amount of well-wishing to spend in a lifetime. Well, Peter didn't teach you. If you keep YouTube in your pocket, you run the risk of getting comment stains in your pants. You need to be a little bit more responsible with your stuff. God, retroactively include Peter didn't teach you in my prayers, please. How does water get to the top of a dam? It climbs. Like anything else. Oh no, you got stage 3 Google? I'm sorry to hear that. That's where you can only search for small images, right? For small, heavily copyrighted images. Sorry, we've limited you to only searching for licensable, copyrighted images from up to 400 pixels. Aww, is what I would say to that. Hey, look at me. The human centipede? Is that 100 heavy flow pads from Always shaped like a human being, stacked into a human being shape? It's the 100 centipede. A human centipede. The Hunan centipede. That's spicy style. Spicy style. Stop being such a spicy style. I wonder what... Oh yeah, there's a UFC basketball game on tomorrow. That's good. So... I have a problem, which is, of course, that I'm out of cigarettes. But the other thing is, I'm going to go to bed very soon. Oh, Kitty, would you like to come in? Well, what the hell was that sound then if it wasn't Kitty? I wonder what it was. What is that sound? No, was that it's not happening anymore, but it was a pollen poltergeist. Obviously, that explains the barrage of sneezes. You know, I keep waiting for my encounter with the paranormal. I figure, hey, I'm due. You know, given all the paranormal videos I watch, one of these days I should get to encounter an actual paranormal event. But still, to this day, everything I encounter is normal. Just regular normal. It's frustrating. So I was hoping maybe Jonathan Basanti, the fact is, there have to be some natural consequences in the world, you know? What I mean by that is, when somebody says some bullshit that makes you mad, it's not always your responsibility to not reveal that that bullshit made you mad, right? Sometimes it's helpful for people to just be their natural responsiveness to something so that the other person recognizes, oh, there are consequences, right? But I agree with you that that part of the job is not appreciated by others as much as the more empathetic part of the job. Jeremiah asks, what sort of paranormal experience would I like to have? Well, probably UFO, I guess. Or Sasquatch would be fine too, but I think maybe UFO. Because the thing is, I don't really... If a ghost paranormal thing happened, I really wouldn't know what to make of it. It would be like, okay... I can barely imagine anything... I can barely imagine anything that could happen that, short of like a see-through white transparent human figure coming up to me and saying, hello, I am a ghost. Pass your hand through me, check me out. You will see I am definitely a ghost. Me going, yeah, you sure are a ghost. And me like looking around the room for anything short of that, I would not conclude it's a ghost probably. So some unexplained sound or shadow or whatever, I'm not going to conclude that event is a ghost. It would have to be astonishingly ghost-like for me to draw that conclusion. So that's the problem with the possibility of having a ghostly paranormal encounter. Now, unexplained creature in the forest, I at least would... What did you text me? I don't remember what you texted me. I haven't been checking my phone. I'm in an avoidance mode. Although I think I checked it since Valentine's Day. Well, Oh, that is absolutely adorable. That's a lot of math. That's a lot. That's a real Valentine's Day gift, I tell you. We were talking about it. A second ago, we were talking about something else. I don't remember what it was. Um, what was it? I believe it was meh, 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 meh. The reason dams fill up with water is because they're like reservoirs, you see. They create lakes by blocking the by blocking the river. The lake has nowhere to go other than to get higher and higher up against the dam, and then they release water from behind it to keep it at that level. That's how dams work. They don't. The water doesn't climb up the dam. I don't want them to dissect my spinal columns. I would. I'd say it's a hearty amount of. That's a hearty rock. Um. So, here's the thing about aliens. That's what we're talking about. If it were aliens, if it were an unidentified forest monster or something, I could wrap my head around it more. Like, I know what it is, at least. Or if I saw a UFO that was very UFO-ish, but wasn't necessarily aliens, I'd at least know, okay, that's some form of high strangeness. It's a UFO. We don't really know. It's like, I think we have good reason to believe that quote-unquote UFOs exist, but I don't really think that they're aliens, actually. I'm not sure what they are, but I don't think they're aliens. Anyway, same with like forest monsters. We have some reason to believe that certain forest monsters exist, but they don't seem to be regular animals. They don't seem to be regular biological creatures. It is highly unsatisfying to have good reason to believe there's something going on and not be able to pin it down with concrete because it has that quality of high strangeness to it that Robert Bigelow identifies, which is it seems to be better at avoiding our pinning it down than we are at pinning it down while playing with us and stuff. I mean, I don't know what UFOs are, but I think there are a variety of things. I think you can chalk up different UFOs into different. I think you can section up UFOs into different categories. You know. Can an ISFJ be an 854? Yeah. I dated an ISFJ who was a 684. Now, an unidentified forest monster would be great, regardless of what kind of forest monster it was. If I were to like experience, if I were to experience like the kind of sounds outside my tent, and I get my camera out and I film it, and it's clearly this furry bipedal thing that's running away, and I can smell that it's a real animal and that it's not like a person in a suit or whatever, even though that's not going to show up on the evidence, and I'm convinced that there was an heretofore unidentified creature, like a creature near my tent that about which there's a lack of broad consensus regarding its existence. That would be satisfying, because it would be a sense that yes, there's magic in the world, and I don't have good enough proof of it to prove it to other people. There's going to get the same kind of skepticism that any kind of blurry forced video gets, but I now have reason to actually believe it. No, because I think you're stretching the definition of unidentified too much there. Ask the fast. Because look, the thing is, even if it's just because I'm not aware of its existence at all, doesn't make it unidentified. That makes it unnoticed, right? I have to notice it, but be unable to identify it for it to be unidentified. So as soon as I notice the frisbee, I'm going to be able to identify it as such. I think you're conflating unnoticed with unidentified. Okay, well, a miniature goat or something, that would be great. That would be great. Like if I were to go camping and I were to look outside and there was like a mountain goat, it was like this big, like a herd of them, like right outside my tent, and I could film them and be like, look at these teeny goats. That would be fantastic. That would be such a not scary kind of paranormal experience. What do you think? Is it just a trick of perspective? Or did this man actually film a herd of miniature goats? That'd be cool. I could go for like an experience where, Rachel and I go to stay at a bed and breakfast or something. We're staying at like a bed and breakfast or something. We go to bed one night on like say January 1st. We wake up the next day and get out of bed, and it's like January 3rd, and we don't know what happened. Like, what happened to that day? Like, that'd be a weird paranormal experience to have. Well, the thing is, I like to point out, James Carolus, is if the aliens are really so good at disguising themselves in general, like being invisible sometimes, or sometimes visible, or all these other things. Why don't they just disguise themselves as planes? Then we'll never realize what they are. How many of the planes in the sky that you see that are obviously planes are actually aliens disguising themselves as planes? Doesn't it seem like we have a lot more planes in the sky than we need? How many people really need to fly places? That many people? I don't know. Maybe some of those so-called planes are actually UFOs who've got plane stealth mode on. I haven't had a paranormal experience. It's not like I thought it would be, and I've had many. I can't imagine that you're not observant enough. Well, I mean, I'm very skeptical of concluding something is paranormal. It has to be super paranormal for me to buy into the fact that it's paranormal, you know? It would have to really be like. You know, my first thought is always going to be, well, it's probably some headlights from over there. It's probably some, yeah, probably some, yeah. Um, what you need to do to have that paranormal experience is acupuncture with Tibetan balls. So I'm right now I'm lying down on the table. I'm looking at the Tibetan monk, and he's got his balls in my face, and I say, "Are you sure this is part of the ritual?" He says, "Yeah, if you want to open up." I'm not sure I want to open up that bad. Like, just open wide. They'd be having a good laugh later on. What would they got the Westerner to do? No, I'm just saying, if the aliens were to have some sort of stealth technology that allowed themselves to be invisible, why wouldn't they just make themselves look like airplanes? Right? You see what I'm saying? If they've got such advanced technology that they can go faster than the speed of light and or travel to through vortexes, wormholes, portals, or whatever, and be invisible and exceed all laws of physics and such, why can't they just disguise themselves as an airplane? Surely that would also be within their capacity. Do you see what I'm saying, James Carolus? Have you considered that? Maybe they can disguise themselves as your mom. Maybe they did. I mean, sure, the airspace is heavily monitored for physical objects of various sorts, but if you can disguise yourself as an airplane, you can also be sort of radar invisible. I don't know what different mechanisms there are currently to monitor airspace, but so we might be able to see them, but they might not be picked up on radar or something. Regardless, the important thing is Jonathan Bassani and James Carolus is that magical shit's happening all the time. You just gotta look harder. Well, James Carolus, don't shatter my hopes because I still have it in my on my bucket list to get abducted and probed. And I don't want to hear that it's mostly overweight women who get probed because that makes me less likely as a candidate for abduction and probing. I haven't checked my email in a few days, Alashiva. I'm not sure what part of me I want probed yet, though. I was thinking maybe my nostril, if they just use a Q-tip. Isn't it funny how Q-tips tell you on the box don't put it into your ear? That's so dumb. And it's a product that's invented to put into people's ears, but to avoid liability, we'll put on the box, do not put it in your ear. How dumb is that? Very dumb, that's how dumb. Well, maybe I can dress up as I am putting on weight. I can dress up as a woman and go stand in a cornfield or something and see what happens. Transvestite found shot dead in cornfield by farmer. is what the is what the headline would read the next day. Yeah, don't body shame. What's your name? James body shaming careless. All right, quit body shaming. Or else, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna soul shame you. Your soul is unattractive, I'll say to you. I didn't just say it, I'm just saying I will say it if need be. Okay, well, if aliens aren't real, then explain why there are so many aliens. What about, like, Area 51? You know, they have aliens' bodies in there. They range from 1 foot to 40 feet long. All different colors, shapes, sizes, and materials. Basically everything that's ever been in a story is one of the kind of aliens that we have at Area 51. Where do you think they came up with, like, penicillin from? It's alien technology. How do you think the Bronze Age came to be? You think those people just came up with bronze on their own? No. Aliens came down and carefully showed them how to do it. Where do you think, stone axes come from? You think people just made that up? No. Aliens came down and showed us how to do it. Where do you think getting water from the river came from? I think people just figured out, oh, we should go get water from the river. No, they were dying of thirst, and then aliens came down and showed us, here's what you need to do. You need to drink this water. That's how they made the pyramids. They stayed hydrated. They stayed very hydrated. Okay, it's time for me to go to bed. If people are if people were Jesus, they'd know what's a thing. Everyone's work would be true. And feelings once spoken would settle and sink. And we'd all know just what to do. But people aren't Jesus once they're betrayed. The easy believing forever is lost. Maybe naivete is not to be saved, but the wise pay a terrible cost. Yeah, maybe I'll play a song or two. I think I'll probably just play one song, which is a song to express exactly how I feel right now. When I was younger, it seemed like everything gleamed. I don't know what happened to me, but I've lost that sense of urgency, and I don't think that I'll ever see it again. If you follow my lead, you'll discover I'm loster than you. And you'll want to know the way to get back out to wherever it was you thought you knew. And tomorrow will be just like today. I'll be lost then too. It's a matter of mood as much as a matter of will. And the things I do and the direction I point to still seem a part of me, though departedly. And I wonder if I'll ever see them again. Bum-ba-dee-da, ba-da-ba-da-da, ba-ba-dee-da, ba-ba-da. Ba-ba-dee-da, ba-da-da-da-da, ba-ba-dee-da, ba-ba-ba. It's sighing weather. When it's sighing weather, don't matter whether you tether your sweater to heather or to a leather jacket. Never, never will I attack it. We need to see, we need to know, we need to pen happenings down by a means to judge logic to life we derisively unlike, and from which we'll rarely budge. People everywhere gather up, enemies outraged at how they miss a sign. How do they set their priorities? These foreign backstabbing entities ensuing heartache and misery follow necessarily from their savage ways. Insulting Carson and Desiree, we're stuck in such petty larceny. We all partition the rectories and call it destruction of the whole damn world. Duty shares now her limits, hoping Julie will too. Jerry shares for 4 minutes. He just can't share things like they do. And Judy always thought that she should have bought to when she had the chance to buy. Julie soon forgot about should and ought, although she ever call, she'll die. People everywhere gather up, enemies outraged at how they miss a sign. How do they set their priorities? These foreign backstabbing entities ensuing heartache and misery follow necessarily from their savage ways. Insulting Carson and Desiree, we're stuck in such petty larceny. We all partition the rectories and call it destruction of the whole damn world. Kaboom. I feel stupid. I feel faily. I feel like a girl who's had too much Baileys and is beautiful puking brown in the bathroom and on the ground. And she's not allowed to come around anymore. I feel bad and failing. I feel like I'm nailing myself to a piece of wood with nails that poke where they should not poke, through my flesh and into the wood below. What will I do? I cannot go. After all, I'm nailed to a board. I don't know why I feel this way, because today is Saturday. Oh wait, I know why. 'Cause I am not on amphetamines. It's gonna be minor. Don't be afraid to go to B minor. That is the way. Your failure becomes more minor and not such a major offense, not such a painful fence to sit upon, while you spend the rest of your days wasting time watching stupid little videos and feeling filled with shame and anxiety that those comprise your choices when you ought to be doing something vastly more useful, like, I don't know, puking in a bucket would be more useful. And yet I don't really feel like it. I just feel lazy, like it's my way to praise of glory. Lazy is a kind of story too. It may not be the one that you think that anyone should choose, but still it is a story too, dude. So maybe that's only me, or maybe I'm only lazy is a better way to put it, I guess. And this is the best I'll ever accomplish, just wasting time with guitar and stomping my feet about it, complaining on the internet about how it's not raining. Golden fashion icons in my lap saying, Eric, advertise our stupid crap, because nobody cares what I think about what brand of sink you should put in your house. Come on, Kohler, hire me to advertise your faucet hardware, please. I love your sinks, I love your bathtubs. Cola is the best for when time for bath bubs. Oh yeah, turn it so fashionably. With my Kohler faucets, I always feel like I'm in a magazine. Oh yeah. That is what you call abject, unrepentant failure. You know, Eric, shaming yourself for it doesn't make up for the failure. That's the key thing to remember. You think it does, apparently. We spend a little less time shaming yourself for your failure and a little more time failing less. The End of the World by Skeeter Davis. I don't know it. I know not how to play it. The only thing I know how to play is a song called Continual Failure Disorder. It's basically my life. It's just me living. I'm playing it right now. I'm currently playing my song. My theme song. Namely, Continual Failure Disorder. I'm more wet and tired, like an old dog. Give me a bath, I'm wet and tired like an old dog. Give me a bath, I'm wet and tired like a dog that's been hunting all day. I'm wet and tired. Just to be clear, I'm wet and tired metaphorically, 'cause in actuality I'm dry as a bone, as you can't see. But I'm wet and tired in a metaphorical sense, like I've been out all day in the cold dark wetness, and so I'm wet and I am tired. And if you're wondering if I am still wired, well, the answer is no. I'm wet and tired like an old dog in a bath. Would rather just be left alone to sit and rest in front of the fire, 'cause it's cold outside and I've been working my hide to the bone, picking up ducks that some hunter shot with his camera phone. Well, that means I'm wet and tired. Life once seemed easy, energy was plenty. Then life got hard as I got older and ran empty. Now here I am without a bit of amp inside, and still I play the role I've got to play and hide the fact that I don't know what to say when it comes time to play a song until I do. So I'm wet and tired, wet and tired like a dog in a bath. Soon to be retired from his hunting duties, tack his ruby red slippers and carry him home. That's it. Bedtime. Time for Eric to make a bread sandwich with himself in bed. Centuries ago, I was known as the sexiest man in Egypt. Thanks for being here, my beloved friends and compatriots. I will reaffirm my prayers and well wishes for you all, in case you and or God has forgotten. Thanks for being here. You deserve those prayers for being here. You've earned them. Goodbye.